In this video, we are going to write a script for our camera so that then it will follow our frog as it moves around in the scene. So right now our camera is placed a little bit away from the frog. So in the last video we changed the position of our camera. So let's change this position back to the original position that we had earlier. And for that we just change the position value in the direction of Y to 5 here for our main camera. And then we'll get this position back. So we want our main camera to be at this position until player presses the certain button to start the game. So we will add that functionality later in the game, but for now I just want my main camera to be at this position, and when the game starts, camera should follow the frog as it hops around. So let's add a script to our main camera that will make it follow our frog. So here in the main camera, click on the add component button, and then down at the end you will find the new script option. Click on that, and that will allow us to create a new script. So here let's give a name to our script. I'm going to say target follow, and then further I'll simply click on create and add, and that will add the script as a component to our main camera. Also we have this script in the assets folder, so let's drag this script into the scripts folder where we have all of our scripts, and then click on the target follow script to open it up in the Visual Studio Code. So this script will be responsible for following the frog as it moves around in the scene. So first of all, we need the reference to the position of our frog game object. So basically we want the reference to the frog's transform component, which consists of these position values. So in the script, let's start by declaring a variable of type transform, and let's call this target, and in our case the target will be the frog. For some reason we are getting this error, but I don't think this is... Oh, it's saying that we already have a script with the same name. So let's search for the script. Okay, we have a script which is called as follow target in the standard assets package. Well, we don't really need to worry because our name of the script is target follow. I don't know why Visual Studio Code is giving this error. Anyways, we'll continue writing the code as long as we're not getting error here in the Unity console. And then let's type in another variable of type vector3, and this will be the offset by which the camera should position itself away from the frog game object or from its target. And finally we will declare another variable of type float, and this will be the follow speed. This will be the speed by which our camera should follow the frog game object. So if you'll select the main camera, here we have our script, and now we want to expose these variables in the inspector window so that we can easily edit them. So on top of these variables I'll type in serialized field inside the square brackets, and I'll copy it and paste it for all of our other variables. And now save the script and go back to Unity. Here you'll notice that all of these three variables are now exposed in the inspector. So the first variable, which is the target, is of type transform, and here we have to set the transform of our target that we want our camera to follow. In this case it is our frog, so we have to simply drag the frog game object from the hierarchy window and drop it here, and Unity will recognize the transform component on our frog game object. Next we have to set the offset for our camera, and we will do this once the game starts running. So for now we'll just leave it aside. And finally we also have to set the follow speed, so for now I'll simply set this to value of 5. And now let's go back to the script, and we're still having these errors, and I don't really know why we have these errors. This is sort of a bug, I guess, but anyways, let's continue writing our code. So we don't really need this start function, so let's get rid of this. And also we don't need the update function. In fact, we need the late update function. So let's type in late. Late update function is a special function just like start, update, or fixed update, and it is called after all the update functions have been called. And that's why we are going to make our camera change its position in the late update function, because sometimes you may want your camera to follow such objects which may change in the update function. And by the time when the late update function will be called, the position of your object will be updated and camera will get the accurate values. And here in the late update function, I'm going to start by declaring a vector 3, which will be the new position of our camera. And this will be equal to the target's position, in our case it is the frog's position, plus the offset that we want to set for our camera. And then we have to simply set the position of our camera, that is transform.position is equal to new position. So now here, after calculating the new position, we are assigning it back to the transform's position, that is the camera's position. And save the script and go back to Unity. And let's see if we have any errors. And we don't have any errors. So let's play the game and see what happens now. Right now the camera is placed at the position of the frogs because we haven't set any offset. So let's try setting some offset here. So first of all, I'll try increasing the Y value. And here you will notice that the camera starts moving in the upward direction because we are setting the offset in the Y direction. So here I'll set the offset to somewhere around 15. And then let's also pull our camera a little bit in the negative Z direction, that is backwards. And let's set this to around -5. And that looks good. So here I'm going to make our frog move around. And as you can see here, our camera properly follows the frog. Also, you can try increasing the speed. But right now you'll notice that the camera is instantly moving to the new position, but we want our camera to move to the new position in a gradual manner, just like we did with our frog's rotation. So for that we will use vector3 class's lerp method, that is linear interpolation, just like we used it for our quaternions. So here I'll remove this value and use vector3 class's lerp method, which again takes in two parameters, vector A, vector B, and finally takes in a float variable by which it should complete that interpolation. So first will be the current position of our camera, and that is transform.position. Then second will be the new position, and finally let's use our follow speed variable that we have declared up there, and let's multiply that with time dot delta time. Last time we've used fixed delta time, but this time we're going to use delta time. Delta time gives us the difference between the current update call and last update call, and this applies to the late update as well. So in this way it distributes the follow speed across several different frames and makes a smooth transition from the current position of our camera to the new position of our camera. And that is pretty much it. Save the script, go back to Unity, and now also type in some values here because we lost those values. So here it was 15, and in the Z direction it was -5. And now play the game. So here we have our camera at the correct position because now we have these values here. And now let's try hopping around, and this time we get this nice follow effect. So if we go ahead and stop the frog, you'll notice that the camera gradually moves to the position of our frog, and that is because we are using this vector3.lerp method here. And again, you can use this script for any other game object, and we have to simply change this target that we have assigned here. So in this case it is our frog, and it can be anything else, it can be any other character. We have to simply drag and drop it here. Also, if you want, you can increase the speed by which you want your camera to reach the frog's position, but in this case I'll simply leave it to a value of 5. So here I'd like to quickly talk about one more thing. So if you select the frog game object, you'll notice that in the rigid body component we have this option called as Interpolate. By default, interpolation is turned off. This can lead to jittery looking objects because the physics and the graphics are not completely in sync. This effect is subtle but often visible on the character, especially if a camera follows the main character. So it is recommended to turn on the interpolation for the main character but disable it for everything else. So in this case I have already enabled the interpolation. So if you find such jittery looking objects in the scene, you might want to turn this option on. Also, if you'd like to add some comments here, please feel free to do that. So that is the end of this video and this section as well. We have covered a lot of concepts so far, and congratulations on getting this far. If you ever feel stuck, please join us on the community forum and feel free to ask questions. Also, remember that it's okay if you don't understand everything in this course right away. Not everything is going to make sense when you first hear about it, and that's normal. Game development and programming in general can be challenging when you're first learning, but when you go through more courses and practice on your own, it will get easier. For now, just try to follow along so that once you go through the whole process, the concepts that you learn will start making more sense.